and welcome everybody. Welcome to the students, the parents, guests. It's nice to be here this afternoon. So this time in the Adda, we thought we'd have a conversation with students to get a sense of how they are dealing with this online, offline thing thanks to the pandemic. To see what is common to all of what they're saying and what is different. It was interesting in our preparatory discussions with them that there were some things that were the same across the board, but there was something that were not. So that was interesting. And so let me introduce our participants to you. I will just go in the order that I see them up on my screen. Adhavan, you can wave maybe. Adhavan is a veteran of our online courses this summer, and he's done several courses on international relations, on math, on the internet courses, critical reading, number of courses with Jerry, and so he is a 9th grade student at NEEV. Shashidhar says he cannot hear me. Can other people hear me?
Yeah. Soumya, very clearly. Yeah.
Okay. Shashidhar, maybe there's something at your end. Maybe something is not plugged in or something like that. He can't hear me and I'm talking away. Just give me a minute.
Soumya, I'll respond to him.
Yeah,
you
thanks.
carry on.
Thanks. So hi Adhavan, and Adhavan, like I said, is a 9th grade student at NEEV Academy in, sorry Adhavan, I made a mistake there. You're muted. 8th grade student at NEEV Academy in Bangalore. Charu is an old friend of GenWise's, and she has attended our summer program 2 years back in Bangalore, and before that in Manipal. And she has attended a couple of online courses this summer. She is in 11th grade in PSBB in Chennai. And Sifar, young man, is a 7th grade student from DLRC Pune. And he's also attended a number of our courses, the internet ones, international relations. I think you've attended the other one also, the democracy one, and a couple of others. And and he is based in Pune. And Anjali is based in Bangalore. She goes to Harvest International. She's in 9th grade. And she's attended also a number of courses this summer, number of courses with Jerry and a few others this summer. And Radha, who will be talking to them, is a senior GenWise mentor. And those of you who have been with us on these does know she's extremely good in conversing with these youngsters. Radha has a lot of experience working with youngsters this age. She spent many years at Rishi Valley after being an environmental consultant for years all over the world. So she will be in conversation with them today primarily. And okay, we'll get started. I'll just roll the ball saying perhaps, okay, maybe we start with each of you can just say hello, young ones, students, and maybe give us a sense of who you are apart from this, face on the tile on the laptop screen. Just give us 5 words about yourself as you give your name.
Yeah, Adhavan, go ahead. I mean, you guys can start. I think Soumya froze a little bit, but yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Adhavan. I am from NEEV Academy, and like Ms. Soumya said, I study in 8th grade. I am someone who's passionate about music and arts, and I consider myself very passionate about conversing with people and talking and discussing thoughts.
Okay.
But that's me, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anjali, maybe you should go ahead next.
Just 1 sec, Anjali. Adhavan, Sifar, Anjali, and Charu, just leave your mics unmuted, please. I know you're following Zoom etiquette, but you are the prime people here. You're on the panel, so just leave your things unmuted. Thanks. Continue, Anjali. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anjali. I study in 9th grade at Harvest International School, Bangalore. I'm a very extroverted person, so this whole thing was like really hard for me to adjust to it first. And I think I'm self-driven, and uh, yeah, so like overall through the pandemic, I was able to cope with things and still make progress on studies and develop my skills in art. I'm very interested in art and dance.
Yeah. Charu, and then Sifar.
Hello everybody, I'm Charu and I study, I'm in 11th grade and I study at BSBB in Chennai.
Charu, is it me or is Charu's voice a bit?
Yeah, Charu, your
not so
voice is a
clear?
bit sort of muffled and a bit low.
Yeah, see if you can speak closer to the microphone.
Might help. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have a headset, try and use that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is better?
Yeah. A little better. Go ahead.
So hello everybody, I'm Charu and I'm in 11th grade and I study at BSBB in Chennai. I really like to read and I like to write as well. I write poetry and non-fiction, and I'm also very interested in handicrafts. I know about 11 types of traditional Indian embroidery and I also know how to sew and crochet. And I would describe myself as observant, open-minded and flexible.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, Sifar.
Hello, I'm Sifar and I study in 7th grade, like Miss Soumya said, and I like to explore new ideas in math and science, and I would describe myself as curious and passionate in what I like to do.
Nice.
Nice.
Go ahead, Radha.
Okay. All right, guys. So welcome. And like we were talking the other day, so today is going to be a continuation of that whole conversation that we started the other day. We didn't have too much time, but let's go ahead. Today we have about an hour. All right. So like we said the other day, it's going to be a free-flowing conversation, and I will sort of just direct a few questions, and then if Soumya has something that she wants to add to that, she'll also sort of throw in a few things, but we'll generally have a conversation. And to everybody else, I mean, if you all have thoughts and some questions or comments, feel free to drop it into the chat box, and let's see if we have time to sort of look at it. Yeah. Okay, so continuing with our conversation the other day, maybe it would be interesting for everybody to sort of get a sense of what's broadly been your experience in online learning. I mean, you can be as frank and forthright as you like, but sort of broadly, what have been your impressions of online learning? And I know some of you spoke the other day about peer learning through online, etc. So it might be nice to just share with everybody what sort of stood out for you in terms of online learning.
Yeah, maybe you can just raise your hand
yeah,
like this.
Yeah, just raise your hand and go for it. Because I don't want to have to point out like in a class, otherwise I will be compelled to do that. Yeah, Charu, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to speak about peer learning again. So one thing that really changed this year was a lot of people in my class just call each other and ask for help with schoolwork. And if one person understands this part of the chapter and the other person understands the other part of the chapter, they can combine the knowledge, put it together, and teach each other what's really going on in class. Because classes are much shorter. We are going through the syllabus much faster than we usually would. So a lot of students are sort of left behind, and peer learning is something that's really helped a lot of people catch up this year.
Charu, just to add to that, I was wondering if I wanted to just push that a little bit and ask you, so is that something that has happened in online as opposed to when you went to school? So did you also have these groups when you went to school, or is that something that emerged during online?
So last year, I did teach a lot of my friends, and it wasn't really teaching. So because I was also learning a lot in the process. But it happened to a very minimal extent last year. But this year, it's kind of blown up.
Great.
A lot more people need help.
Okay, okay. Who wants to go next? Yeah, Adhavan, go ahead. Yeah.
So I feel one of the things that struck me as a huge impression for online learning in
Yeah.
past, I guess, almost a year or so, is that the fact that most of the classes became discussion oriented and self driven. These two are the main points. So by discussion oriented, for example, even though in my school itself we stressed a lot on having discussions, now that when we're in an online platform, having just a PPT and then going through it doesn't make that much sense anymore. So more and more discussions are being brought in about debatable topics, or even trying to find out your own understanding of a certain topic and then further understanding it through what the teacher says after that. So like that, more and more discussions have been brought into the class, further letting us experience what other people's points of views are, and also helping us put down our ideas and seeing what happens to it, and our understanding of certain topics and ideas can change. And that also leads to the fact that it's more self-driven, because rather than the teacher spoon feeding you all the information or you just going through a textbook, it's more like you have to go and get your own information. If you're taking notes, the teacher can't check you anymore. You have to
Right,
take your own notes, and that actually sometimes compels you to go and take more notes afterwards
right.
because you find it actually interesting. So
Huh.
I guess those are the two things that left a strong impression for me.
Wow, that's fascinating. I must say, this self-driven learning and peer learning is emerging as a very interesting element of this whole thing. Anjali Sifar, let's hear what you have to say.
Does it all have to be positive or negative?
No, yeah,
too?
please. No, no, no. It doesn't have to be positive at all, actually.
It has to be from
Okay.
you, that's
It has
all.
to be from you. What you think, Anjali. Absolutely what you think. Yeah.
So my school actually is probably completely different from other one's school. It's like our teachers just put the PPT on the screen and they keep talking, and I'm sitting there trying my best to pay attention.
Right.
So that has been the classroom experience is gone, and
Okay.
like interacting with people, it's all over chat and
Yeah. Yeah.
calling nowadays. And we can't really see each other because it's all
Yeah.
through the screen, and most of
Right.
the time people's videos are off.
Right.
So yeah, I've also been doing a lot of the peer learning and
Okay. Okay.
self-driven
Mm.
teaching.
So
I
you
learn a lot
missed
through
that, huh?
YouTube also.
You were saying, no, did you miss the physical sort of being
Yeah.
in the classroom? And talk a little bit more about this YouTube learning. I know we sort of touched upon it the other day before we go to Sifar. Just talk a little bit more about that, the YouTube learning.
So like for a lot of my classes in school, like chemistry, it's a subject not struggle, I find it harder than others. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos to try and grasp the concepts.
Okay.
And then a few skills like different dances, and I learned how to draw portraits through YouTube.
Huh. Nice.
So yeah, a lot of YouTube learning.
Yeah, a lot of YouTube learning. Cool. Yeah. Sifar. Sifar, you'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
So in online learning, one thing that I think is good, that like showing videos and making more interactive, like Adhavan said, is easier now, because at school we would have to like take a projector and it would take some time to set up. But now a lot more videos are shown, and I find that really nice. And like Anjay said, YouTube learning has gotten like that's like one of our only choices now, because we can't really ask the teacher to, because calling and stuff, they are busy. So yeah, YouTube learning has increased. And I think one more thing that's happened, that they're also giving more projects, which I like, which sort of takes up because now in online we don't really have to go to school, which
Right.
reduces a lot of time, and doing the projects really makes us learn more in lesser time. So yeah, I'm liking
Okay.
that as well.
You're liking that. Okay, that's fab. Oh, wow. Like we've got a diversity of, sort of points of view. But while we're on online, I was just wondering, all of you have, of course, done courses with the GenWise. Probably Charu's the only one who's done offline courses with GenWise, right? I mean, where we've had a real life sort of an experience. So I just wanted to get some insight from you about, the GenWise courses, in the sense of, how different are they from, say, what you're learning from YouTube, for instance? Or, what is, can you think of like one or two dimensions in your heads which makes it different from other online learning that you are doing? maybe one or two things that stand out in your head. And yes, Charu, go ahead.
So I think there are two ways GenWise courses really differ from YouTube learning and from school, which is that YouTube learning is extremely passive. You're just taking in content, and school is also like that to a large extent for me. But in GenWise, it's kind of built upon interacting with people. It's like I said in the preparatory session, in school I have Zoom on speaker view because I have to look at what the teacher is saying. It's centered on the teacher. But in this sort of meeting, I have it on gallery view because I want to look at everybody, because anybody could say anything at any time. And I also said in the preparatory session, relevance is really important because I take what I'm learning in school and I don't know why I'm learning it. I had an exam yesterday and I don't know why I'm learning what valence bond theory is. And so I went and Googled it, and it was only after a lot of Googling that I really realized why it was important and why it was relevant to me. And GenWise differs in that because the entire way it's presented to students is, why is this relevant to you and how does this affect you directly? So,
So in that sense, okay. Anybody else wants to go? Yeah, Anjali, go ahead.
One thing that's different is, so in school, like if you don't understand the concept and your teacher explains it to you once again and you still don't get it, you're like considered not smart.
Okay.
But for GenWise, it's like, if I don't understand it, I can keep asking and like eventually I'll get it. I have time to do research. But then school, it's always just rush through the topics.
Do you think it's because in school you have a larger number of students and in GenWise you have a much smaller group? Do you think it's because of something like that? Because sometimes in school, teachers also are under pressure of...
they have to finish a certain portion.
Right, that also happens. Whereas in GenWise, it's a completely different situation, right?
It's like, take your time. It doesn't matter how like ahead or behind your peers you are.
Right, that's right. Yeah, Adhavan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I felt that GenWise is sort of different from the very fact that this is a course learning. So in YouTube, for example, if you're searching up something, like Charu said, it's extremely passive. You're taking in information, then you have to try everything. Whereas GenWise is a culmination of two things for me, which is one, the specificity of what you are actually studying. Because in school, for example, adding on to Anjali, you have a lot of students and a lot of topics equally to cover. So you are trying to have history, you have to cover so many topics. But in GenWise, you have one specific topic you're looking at, whether it be international relations, whether it be a specific math concept, or just talking about positivity like that. You are going to a specific something that you are interested in.
Right.
So you don't just sit there and try and go through something boring. You're sitting through something that you want to learn. And that's provided to you not just through passive learning, but also a sort of hands-on learning almost, right? In an online sense, where you are literally involved in your own understanding and learning, where you can ask your questions and the expert or the person who's teaching is going to answer it, or even give you more information that you can look upon later on. So it's more like an environment where you learn what you want, and you get the necessary information, resources, and knowledge and experience to further enhance it and later on explore it more.
Okay. And you think you're provoked enough in the GenWise courses, as in, you're sort of pushed to really think for yourself as opposed to not? Because you can also have online courses where you're given a lot of information versus the learning process, right? Isn't it? So do you think that? Do you think that happens?
Yeah, because like I said, the learning discussion, that kind of orientation, that's inherently there itself in GenWise. Even if you want to be not pushed, you can't, because even in class, you'll be participating, and that just somehow eventually leads to you being so involved, you just forget the fact that this is even online learning. You're just there putting out your ideas, and there are more people coming in and helping you understand more about where that idea can lead to.
Okay. So this is a choice you've made to sort of come to a course, isn't it? It's a choice. Sifar, what about you? What has been your experience?
Yeah, so like everybody else said that in school there's lots of people and a set syllabus to cover. In GenWise classes, I didn't realize that because we went into a lot of details, and sometimes the teacher or the expert will ask us what we want to do, and then it has to be, even if it's like loosely related to the topic, we will still cover it if a lot of people are interested. And
Right.
I also learned about, in every GenWise course, I've learned about why we need the information that we have learned.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah,
Okay.
that's what my experience was.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
There was a point we were discussing, right, last during our chat earlier, about this thing about, how important is this online learning business? Like, say, for example, we had the pandemic occurred, but supposing your schools had just decided not to have online classes. I mean, and there are a whole bunch of children across the country who don't have access to online classes, right? So I was wondering, from the four of you, to understand how would you have responded, or what do you think you would have done if you didn't have an opportunity for an online class, or your schools just decided, forget it, we're not getting into this online business. You have a year off and you sort of do what you have to do, and then when the schools reopen, you come back. And maybe this time I'm going to ask Sifar to go first, because poor Sifar has always had to sort of summarize what everybody's saying. Yeah, Sifar, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing that I've noticed, that this is not just for me, this is like generalizing, that some people, uh school, if you have school, it's sort of like regular. So you don't really have a choice, you have to study every day, you do your homework. But if you get an year off, then some people just might not study. And even me, I might not be really regular or consistent in doing some work. And to get to learn throughout the year, one thing I might have done is that there are schools online that offer syllabuses. I would
Yeah.
have just looked through that and then focus on that and cover some content. Set a goal for a month, cover that goal in a month, and do that for 12 months. Keep having quizzes in the middle to keep testing myself.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you think you would have used this chance to learn something completely different from your academics? Like, would you have gone and learned dance or art or something like that if you're not inclined to it? I'm saying. You think you would
No,
have done something? No, you wouldn't have done that.
no.
Or a game? No.
Yeah, like if I'm ahead of schedule, then yeah, maybe, but
Okay.
probably not.
Okay. Okay. What about Charu?
Okay, so I'm at that age where college and careers really start coming into the picture. And something I've always wanted to do is sort of understand what a certain job is like day to day. It's not like um, the way medicine or law is depicted on TV is not how it would be in real life, because TV is obviously dramatized. And so I feel like if I had a whole year to just do whatever I wanted, I would have explored career options. I would have reached out to people in the field and kind of asked, how is it on a day to day basis? Because I don't want a career that I would not enjoy.
Okay.
So yeah, and
Okay.
maybe explore college majors and subjects.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. 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 Anjali, what about you?
I would probably have gotten all the books required to cover the syllabus.
Oh, really?
Just like,
Wow, Anjali. You're like that. You're like my ideal student. I'd be like, okay, Anjali, here you go. Yeah, go ahead.
but I think I would have left out like subjects I'm not
You
interested
don't
in.
like. Good for you. That's cool.
And then maybe I would have prioritized my hobbies also, because
Ah,
schoolwork would have gotten cut out.
correct, correct.
So
You'd have done more Kathak and painting and art and all, no?
yeah.
I'm sure, no? Yeah, yeah. Adun, what about you? What would you have done?
I think I would have probably asked my teachers if they were available, like what were we gonna cover, and probably try and I mean, like, personally, I would pick and choose.
You would pick and choose.
I would pick and choose which ones that seemed interesting. Like, if there was something on, like, some history concept that I really loved, I'd pick it up, and then I'd probably try going through it, and probably try creating my own, like, sort of home school for myself, probably. But then majorly, other than that, I would focus on discovering new things that I would like to do, and probably improving on the hobbies that I already have.
That you already have. Okay. Related to that, I was just thinking that you remember during our earlier getting to know each other conversation, we had this whole discussion about, what if school, so what if you had a year off, right? And I remember Adhavan, you saying that LKG, UKG has a year off. They won't know what to do with themselves. So I have a feeling that it would be really interesting for everybody to hear your point of view on that, because I thought that was a very interesting perspective. You know where you're talking. So do you want to continue on that vein a little bit and
Yeah,
say
sure, I'll do
why
that.
you think it's important? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I was actually saying that because a lot of friends, the experience that I was talking about was my mother's friend's son.
Hmm.
He actually had his school wasn't giving them online learning. They had completely cut it off. So for almost the majority of the year, now they've brought it in, but majority of this year he didn't have online learning.
Hmm.
And I was talking about the fact that during this time, this LKG and UKG, you are establishing a foundation, whether it be getting into that kind of getting into proper school,
Hmm.
or whether it be learning the ABCD, how to communicate, and the different essential words that you start learning at the time. So
Hmm.
I was saying that losing out on that, which I see, it seems to me that a lot of people, schools who don't have this online learning are doing, especially for this primary years, is a huge loss, because then later on you're going to have to learn it along
Hmm.
with the syllabus that requires it. So that's kind of like I felt that that was extremely essential and shouldn't be missed out on. And if you just left your own devices, now we know what to do. Like if you know
Hmm.
how to
Hmm.
learn, you can learn.
Hmm.
But they don't know how to learn, nor do they know how to communicate the fact that they want to learn something. So
Hmm.
that
But
was
this is,
my
yeah, and this is
thing.
where I want to bring
Interesting.
Charu in actually, because Charu had such a different experience. Charu, I'm sure all the people on this call would love to hear your experience of how you taught yourself to read.
So what happened was I lived in the US until I was 5, and I went to kindergarten over there, and they don't teach you how to read in kindergarten. And then I moved to India, and I joined UKG, and everybody knew how to read and write, and I didn't. And so I kind of made it through UKG without the teachers really finding out that I couldn't read. But in first standard, one of the teachers asked me to stand up, and she was like, "Please read out this passage," and I had to tell her I couldn't read. And 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 in India, I think it's how I think LKG is when they start teaching you ABCs and like phonetics and stuff, and I think that's around the age of 4. I could only read like properly by the age of 6.5 or 7. But when I started reading, I did not stop reading. But I really love to read. And so my argument was that it was because I sort of learned to read at my own pace, that I really I started reading because I wanted to read, not because it was part of the syllabus, because what I was being taught at school. Uh, I feel like that is what really developed my love for learning, as opposed to a lot of my peers. So my argument is that there is no specific age at which you have to be taught how to communicate. Communication comes naturally to people.
Okay, that's absolutely fascinating to get these two perspectives. But I want to pull Anjali and Sifar in to just get your points of view. Now you've listened to two different points of view, right? So what do you think, Anjali? What do you think? And then Sifar, please, what do you think? Yeah, what do you think about both these sort of
I
perspectives?
think it depends on the child also.
Okay,
So first of all, maybe the child should be competitive, like wants to get as far as their peers.
okay,
And so, like, I'll actually give the example of my brother who's right now in third grade. So
yeah,
his school follows a Montessori method.
okay,
So this online classes, it's not working that well for them
correct,
because they prioritize that everyone should go at their own pace.
right,
And
correct,
but they all get the same homework. So for
correct,
some kids it's easy, for some it's hard.
right.
Yeah, and so my brother, he finishes his homework in the morning, and then all afternoon he just keeps talking to my mom and following her around. So yeah, I think it depends on the person also. Some will know what to do,
Right,
but some might not
might
know.
not
Some
know.
need the guidance.
Some need the guidance. Okay, Sifar, what do you think?
Yeah, one thing that I think is that in schools there are lots of other children that they are there. So and they learn in a group, they learn together, which I think allows the child to learn quicker and learn better. So
Okay,
if it's online, that really won't happen, and they won't get friends and they won't be able to learn. And also the children at that age, they are really good at like mimicking, or like
huh,
learning
Right.
huh,
learning things. So and if they are, so one of my examples is my parents have been telling me that I learned how to eat with my hands in school,
Huh.
like by watching the teachers and watching the other older kids who are there. So that like mimicking or learning by watching others won't really happen a lot.
Okay. Okay.
I
That's
have a question here, Radha.
yeah. Go ahead, Soumya.
Yeah,
Yes.
which I think we didn't talk about earlier.
Yes.
Thing is, I was wondering, so how has this online, see, your learning has moved online. So how has your unwinding changed? How have you learned to relax or unwind differently now?
Right.
How
Right.
has that changed in any way? And if so, how? And are you, are you happy with it, or how do you see it?
Right. Yeah, Sifar, go ahead. You always land up somehow speaking last. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so relaxing right now because we are online and when we're outside, we can sort of do whatever we want. I think that helps us relax, even if it's a bit unusual. So one of the things that I discovered is that with my friends, we now have like chatting. We now chat for homework and like just generally, and we really discuss new ideas in music, like which songs we like to
Hmm.
listen. And
Huh.
I sort of like got introduced to new songs which I thought were really cool. So yeah, music really helps me relax.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, Charu, go ahead.
Why don't you guys keep yourself unmuted, please?
Yeah, it's much easier that way. Yes.
I have a bit of a cough, so I
Oh,
keep
okay.
coughing.
Fine. Yeah. Charu? Yeah.
So the thing, I also use music to unwind, and that's mainly because I already have eye problems, and so staring at a screen for almost 5 hours a day is not helping that. And then using this, even stuff like reading or needlework, again, I'm still using my eyes.
Yeah.
So music is actually one of the easiest ways for me to sort of unwind
Hmm.
without really straining my eyes again, and also going outside,
Right.
like the terrace and stuff. Or I'm lucky to have a very good relationship with my brother. So both of us, the both of us play around a lot. So
Okay.
that also made me fun.
That's useful. Very useful. Yeah. Yeah. Adavan, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess unwinding, like for me, usually when we come back from physical school, I would lie on a bed and like probably like unwind with music or something, or just go
Okay.
on the laptop and
Okay.
probably browse. I don't know. But now I am being pushed to go outside for unwinding.
Right.
So
Right.
go cycling after you finished school.
Huh. Huh.
And then only you get to do your homework because your homework is also digital now. You can't do physical projects and show it in front
That's
of Zoom
right.
camera. You
That's
have to do digital homework also. So
right.
I guess being more and more pushed towards not doing eye related things,
Yeah.
but rather physically moving your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also not just simply sitting there because you're doing that for the whole day
I know.
anyways.
That's
So
true.
I guess that sort of changed. Like it's like flipped
Ah, it's flipped. Oh, that's a
almost.
very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Anjali, what about you?
For me, my unwinding has changed a lot. So I used to depend on other people, like call my friends, let's
Hmm.
do something together to unwind. But now it's like I can't really do that. So I have to find ways to unwind myself. So one would be painting. Like I find it relaxing just
Yeah.
doing it.
Right.
Uh, yeah, there's
I,
not much
yeah.
actually.
No,
Like
but Soumya
watching random videos also.
also. But Soumya, that's interesting, no? Like, I mean, there seems to be more of an internalization process
Yeah,
also that seems to
exactly.
have happened, right?
Exactly. So have
Yeah.
you made more friends nearby,
Right.
near where you live? Because you have not had access to friends at school so much,
Hmm.
maybe.
Hmm.
I've lived in the same apartment for like 6 years, so
That seems like
I
a
know
very long
everyone.
time.
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
There's a question on the.
yeah, on the thing. And
Go
but
ahead.
before we go to that question, I was wondering if we should get all of you to do a little bit of visualization and imagination and become creative. And then after that, we'll take this very serious question because it's a really pretty serious question, I think. So we sort of started discussing this thing, right? That you guys would, if you were to set up your own learning program, it could be a school, it could be a learning space, it could be anything, right? And so it would be interesting to go around and find out how would you broadly structure it, like what would it look like, and then would there be some specifics that you might want to talk about, like what would be its focus, a learning program or a school or anything that you wanted to set up. You were just told, okay, like, look, we will support you. Somebody came and said, look, I'll fund you, and why don't five of you get together and start something. Other one is laughing hysterically at that thought, but so yeah, let's go around. Anjali, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah. Or Sifar, who's
Sifar, yes. Anjali, Sifar, Adavan, Charu. I think that's the sequence we'll go. Yeah. Anjali, go ahead.
So I think it just be like this building, like free, maybe colorful, but like it has a color scheme.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, nice.
There'd
Yeah.
be a swimming pool for sure, because I find water very relaxing and calming.
Okay.
And now I can't do it swim because of Corona, which is
Yeah.
sad. So I think it'd be basically a self-learning place where everyone interacts, maybe focuses on different topics per week, and yeah, you learn with each other, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then so everyone has different talents and hobbies, so they get to teach each other that.
Mm.
So teachers are there only to guide the students, and like if they face any difficulties or are too afraid to ask their peers something, then they'll help.
Then they'll go to the teachers.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any idea of like what concepts or topics, or I'm not saying subjects, but that you think the students should learn? Like, do you have thoughts on that? Like, what are the must-haves in that school? Like, what must all students do?
I think like communication skills,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Then like everyone should have the basics of math and science
Okay.
clear, so that they can explore further on their own.
Okay.
Then maybe history, but then history in a fun way.
Okay. I like that.
Like, because
Yeah.
in school it's just like we're taught.
Yeah.
Like maybe like a story.
Okay.
Not exactly.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. Why not? Yeah.
Maybe they can learn through role plays and
Okay.
things
Okay.
like that.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Sifar, what is your learning environment space going to be like?
Yeah, so for now, I'll just assume that we're going to do it online, and
No, no, no,
because
no, 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 Sifar. No, 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 no. Let's get out of online.
okay,
Think of
then
otherwise, like,
it'll be like a big place with like not very congested and colored, like maybe not colored, but it should be open to nature, so
okay.
that the children can learn and then play over there and not really get constructed by the boundaries of a house or like an open building,
nice.
like a closed building.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the age group will be like about 10 to like 10 or 10 like 10 plus.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's really important is about managing money, like how to manage, maintain, and use it very properly, and not like how to use it, when to use it, and for what like situations to use it. Like
Yeah.
awareness about currency, and also about like cryptocurrency, because that's something that people don't really know much about, and I think it does still count as money.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Wow. And what must have, like, what would you not have at all, Sifar? What would not be there in your school?
What would not be there is probably signboards telling kids what to do all the time. Like,
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. I love that. That's
yeah.
very telling. That's very telling, Sifar. I agree. As adults, I think we should really think about this. Thank you. That was lovely. Yeah. Adavan and then Charu. Yes, Adavan.
I mean, like, I don't know about the physical building part, but
Yes.
learning program wise, I guess one thing I'd have is all the subjects, like the main subjects we have, I would establish it such that everybody has a foundation on each of
Okay.
those subjects
Okay.
to
Okay.
like a certain expected level. I don't know what that level is, but a certain expected level, such that from there, if they want to move and get delve further when they're choosing that subject or when they want to take it further to college, they can do that
Okay.
easily
Okay.
with the
Okay.
amount of knowledge and learning they have. Then secondly, I would probably focus my whole learning program on, rather than getting the information into the kids like textbooks or
Ah,
like following a proper syllabus. I'd like to teach them more about like how you can actually learn, how do you do research, how do you write essays, how do you like those kind of major things that you're going to actually use later on,
Hmm.
rather than minute information about what happened in 1987 in Britain. I don't like that. That's also very important, but
correct,
focusing on
correct.
that only
Right,
is
right.
the best thing you can do. You have to look at everything else. And I guess a must-have would be real life skills. Like, how do you manage your maybe at a certain age, not like initially, but probably like later on, like eighth, ninth, tenth. But
Right,
like, how are you gonna manage your finances later on,
right.
or how are you going to? How does basically how does the world work? Because there's so many things like how are you gonna manage a house, how are you gonna get like how are you gonna buy, how are you gonna live in college, those kind of
Hmm,
things, like some introduction has to be given.
right,
Because on YouTube you'll find so many people in college giving you so much advice,
right.
but I am not a person who's going to go search how am I going to live in college unless I reach that stage.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think that should probably be taught a little later on,
Yeah.
maybe in school.
Hmm.
So I
Okay.
guess those
Wow. Yeah, right. Charu?
I think the main thing that I would want in an education system is that it would be unstructured. And again, this is based completely on what happened last year, which was we had the board exams in March, and then we had syllabus completed by November. And so from now, December to February, it was just you were supposed to come to school, but like it was accepted that you could take the day off, and you would come to school and you would sit down in groups and go through whatever you wanted to go through. You could do it alone, you could do it with somebody else. Both of you could be doing different things, but it was all okay. You could pull in teachers anytime if you had a doubt or you wanted some clarification. And it was very much self-driven, but it was also not completely unstructured because we did have an exam at the end of the year that we were studying
Okay.
for.
Okay. Okay.
And so I think a very loose structure is what I really want in an education system. And another thing I would like is not having closed classrooms,
Ah,
because
okay.
I may have friends in like other classes who I want to talk to, but because we are separated into different classes, I can't go talk to them. I can't learn with them. I have to make do with the people in my class. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. Or maybe it's not that I don't like the people in my class. It's just that I want variety when I'm learning. And so yeah, I want to be able to make the choices for myself.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, I like this theme of open that seems to just run through all of them, right? I mean, in the sense that it's very telling in terms of what we are seeing in our own schools clearly, right?
Yeah,
Tommy,
and
you
also
wanted to go
this
with that question? Yeah, sorry, go
you
ahead.
know, no, I was saying this, the interaction part that Charu said with people who are
Yeah,
not just in your class, that
correct,
just takes me automatically to the GenWise summer program that she was part
correct,
of.
correct, correct,
Do you
exactly,
want to say
exactly.
something about that? Or I see you
Yeah,
waiting up.
yeah, yeah. And also, right, exactly, the GenY summer program that you were a part of, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so at that program, we did have again like this research project that we are going to present at the end of the course. But
Right.
between the start of the course and the research project, we were kind of left to explore whatever we wanted to explore, and we could do that in teams. We could do that alone. You can even have a project that you're technically working on with someone else, but you can still do it independently or do it with them, whatever you felt like that day. And also, there was more than one course at the summer camp. So
Yeah.
even I could walk into the next room
Right,
during the breaks and
right,
talk to other people, or
right,
both
right,
of you would talk about the different courses that we're doing, the different things we're
right.
learning. And so again, loose structure, very loose
Yeah,
structure, but it was all sort of tied up in the end.
right, right. Oh, yeah. That's a very interesting point you said. I mean, open-ended, loose structure, but somewhere you bring comprehension and you tie it up towards the end. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, now this leads
Yeah,
me to another question also, Radha, before we go to the
yeah. We got
question
the
out
question.
there.
Sure, 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 sure.
Yeah, which is that do you have thoughts on what courses you would like to see next summer with GenWise?
Right.
Either online or offline, depending on how things go. Just think about that. Just think about that. If you have anything to say it, or
Yeah.
we can come to it a bit
Yeah.
later. Like you might have come across something and thought, oh, I would like a course on this one. What is this happening here? Kind of
Correct.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So let that just sit in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So there's
yeah,
a pretty serious question here, actually. I think,
yeah.
there's a person, somebody who's been watching, who's sort of participating through Facebook, saying that her name is Ruchi, and she says her kids are homeschoolers and they've been learning from online classes for the past 4 years. And so she's saying that, bullying and peer pressure is much easier to manage when there's a screen separating you from a bully. Would you think that? I mean, what's been your experience?
I agree because I was actually bullied for a bit by someone
Okay.
in my school.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think because there's this screen separating us, that way it's become a lot better.
Oh, is it?
Like,
Okay.
I don't have to always worry about that in the back of my
Wow.
mind.
Okay. Yeah, Sifar, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, so I was never bullied like a lot. Like there have been some minor instances, but I was never bullied, or I was never. It never went to an extent that we could call it bullying. But
Right.
uh, in yeah, in my school, I had seen people sort of putting peer pressure on, and then bragging slash physical abuse for other children. In online, I agree bullying has reduced, but I still hear a lot of my friends saying that today I got bullied, and I
Oh,
asked them like, how can you get bullied in like online school? So they
correct.
one of the common response was chat, like people say mean things to them via chat. Now,
Oh,
I mean, yeah, and they like sometimes they were like I tried to encourage them, but they like were like so sad. So I think online bullying is still happening through chat,
yeah,
and peer pressure I think will always be there because of marks and other stuff.
correct.
So yeah, but bullying, yeah, by chat, and I think it's become easier now because chat you can just chat on any time, and
Wow.
like personally chat on any time without anybody noticing. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, Charu, you had something to say?
Yeah, so to build up on what Sifa said, online bullying does have that added layer of anonymity. So it's kind of easier for people to bully you, but at the same time, it's easier for you to remove yourself from uncomfortable
Okay.
situations.
Okay.
Like it's easier to just leave. It's easier to cut a person out if they're not
Okay.
making
Okay.
you comfortable. So
Yeah.
that's there. And another thing I wanted to talk about was body image issues.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In the beginning, in my school, it's necessary for us to keep our videos on during classes.
Okay.
And in the beginning, I remember a lot of my friends were like, I don't want to look at my face because
Yeah.
like, when you're in online, if you're in real life school, like you're not going to see your face.
Very
Ah,
true, actually.
wow.
Wow.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're not really aware of your physical appearance. You can kind of get into what you're doing. But on online school, I can look at myself right now, and I remember people telling me personally that they just didn't like it. They didn't want to look at themselves because they didn't like the way they look. And in the beginning, I did kind of feel like that. But as online classes went on and on and on, I was like, I don't really. In general, you could see like the quality of videos, the quality of setup, this kind of went down. Everybody became more casual. So in the beginning, it was kind of an issue. But as time went on, I guess it's sort of normalized, and
Right.
maybe it's helped, maybe it hasn't helped. I'm not really sure.
Wow. My God, Charu, that's like tremendously. I mean, I
Yeah.
never thought about that. That's very, yeah. Adhan, you had something?
Sipar also had his hand up.
Sifar
Yeah.
also had his hand up. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that okay, so I would actually divide it like two parts, where it's like on Zoom and then like off Zoom, because both sides were online. But on Zoom, I just wanted to add on to Charu, which was that actually yes, like even when I'm looking at myself
Yeah.
talking in the screen on speaker view,
Correct.
it's just so
Correct.
weird. You're just like, why is my mouth moving like that? Why is my hair like
Yes.
this? I have
Yes.
to set
Yes.
it up.
Yes.
And not
Yes.
just that, the background, because
Yeah.
we're all in our rooms right now. How are people going to
Right.
judge my background? So actually what happens in my school, or luckily my school doesn't have any bullies. We're all friendly. But I think there is potential in the fact that people can actually make fun of certain scenes that are made on Zoom.
Yeah.
For example, whenever you see somebody in that funny frozen position in the middle, it's like that's
Yeah.
so funny. If it's a bully though, you're
Yeah.
gonna actually have way more problems
Yeah.
because they're gonna actually now coming to the off Zoom where your whole life is going to be your whole life is online right now when you're
Oh,
talking, especially in
right.
school. So you have to, whether it be talking to your, if I get a WhatsApp message now, immediately I have to immediately check it because it might be some other course I'm going to, another
Okay.
class I'm going to, some of
Okay.
my friends talking to me on whether it be on any platform. So
Yeah.
you can actually, there's the potential that that can actually be a message from somebody. So that brings in the concept of cyberbullying, where people can actually bully you through online. And I guess now bullies have to turn to that more like, and that's a
That's right.
far vaster area than physical bullying because
Oh,
that's on
absolutely.
a extremely wide range.
Yeah. And also much more insidious and much more
So
sort of
I do
scary.
think,
Yeah.
although I don't have experience in bullying, I
Yeah.
do think that I don't have any experience to tell that that happens, but maybe that can happen. So I don't know if actually bullying can be stopped in front of a screen, when the
Ah.
screen is separating.
No, no, interesting
Like
point. Yeah.
superficially maybe, but
Yeah.
behind the
But not behind.
screens,
Correct.
maybe there's a lot going on. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Sifar, you were saying something?
Yeah, so one point I just remembered that in school we had like there's a like a period in which we just have to like there's like just 1 hour talking to a class teacher about our like things that we feel bad about and things that we feel good about the school and help the school improve.
Right.
So in that the class teacher decided to do something about a cyber like literacy, digital literacy and security. So in that process of the project we also like one thing I learned was that online bullying, like public bullying, is also happening now because kids are taking screenshots and then posting them on
Oh,
websites,
shoot.
which
Yeah.
is like a much bigger extent of bullying or putting it on social media, bullying that. And I think there is a much more effect on them because if you're physical bullying, I don't think they people like I personally think that the children don't care so much. But if you have a website on you, then obviously you'll care more.
Of
So
Wow.
yeah,
course.
I agree with everybody's
Wow.
point that it has increased a lot now.
Hmm.
This is like opened a can of worms. Yeah.
Yeah, it has. It
Yeah,
has.
Anjali, you had something. You were saying something.
Charu had something before that, I think.
Ah,
Just a minute, Anjali. Yeah.
yeah. Charu, go ahead.
What I wanted to say was in the whole online meeting sort of thing has really kind of made you narrow in on what looks presentable and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
this setup behind me looks presentable, but my bed over there is not presentable.
Correct.
And I do not want you guys to see my bed. I
Yes.
do want you to see this. So
Right. Right.
so it's really made a distinction of it's not do I like this or do I not like this. It's more of would this look good on camera or would this not look good on camera.
True. True. Yeah. No, I know because I'm now sitting in Chennai and I was doing exactly that. I was like, okay, where shall I sit with minimal level of interference behind my back? I mean, seriously, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Anjali, go ahead.
I want to say something about the peer pressure. I
Yeah.
actually feel like it's increased when it's online.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, like before in school, like it's just a habit for a lot of people to share their marks with each other, compare.
Right. Right.
So that's when you actually know how many marks people have gotten. But over chat, if you discuss, like you don't know. People could be lying, and you
Ah,
subconsciously compare yourself with others.
huh.
And the social media usage has gone up a lot.
Yeah.
So, and then you constantly see what other people are doing with their lives, and you think, am I doing like, is my life as good as theirs? Am I
Oh,
having as much fun? Am I doing enough? So, I think
Mm.
that's where it's gone up.
Wow.
yeah, man. Seriously, the whole social impact of this is something else.
Yeah.
And talking about, okay,
There's
moving from something like this, Ruchi has a follow-up question actually. Like, do you feel you guys are exploring your own self-interest more while spending so much time at home? I mean, some of you alluded to it, but maybe you want to respond more deeply. Do you feel like you are exploring your own interests much more because you seem to have more physical time at home?
yeah, other one go.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like it's more like you have to and we have also, because if you don't, you're just going to be sitting on your bed bored. And everyone has, maybe it's an undiscovered interest or it's an interest they already have,
Yeah.
but developing it further is something I always do. I don't think that's a great thing, but the discovering part's what's increased.
Okay.
Because in school itself, when we're listening, if we touch upon a topic that we just somewhat touched upon, there's no big introduction given to it, but you can actually explore it further. then these kind of like either online courses or doing your own research or these kind of things do pop up a lot. Like she was also saying in our previous question that online opportunities have increased in India. So you
Exactly.
actually get to discover more interests at a far greater scale than what you could,
Hmm.
rather than physically going and searching for a course. Like online, there weren't so many opportunities. So physically, you have to go and do something.
Yeah.
And that may not be the best, most efficient option, I would
Right.
say. So I guess, yes, we not only have to, we're also able to explore our self-interest better and developing it further. I guess that's almost the same because we're going to either the same class or something like that. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Who wanted to go next? Anybody?
It's fine if they don't have a
Yeah. If you don't
response
have a
also, I
response,
guess.
also it's
Yeah.
okay. Actually, yeah. It's
There's another question here from
huh.
Sundaram. I think it has come to me.
Huh.
Actually, it's an interesting one, slightly different from what we're talking about at the moment.
Hmm.
He says about, among the four major sort of academic subjects,
Yeah.
if you say languages, and if you say science, if you say social studies, and if you say math, if you sort of broadly look at it like that. Um, Now, how has the online angle affected them? Because they're all different subjects.
Hmm.
So has it been the same? I mean, for example, how have you, what is your comment on learning math versus learning language or science? Yeah, Charu, go ahead. Yeah.
So for me right now, there is a big focus on just completing the syllabus. For me right now, there's a big focus on just completing the syllabus because instead of like 9 periods a day, we only have 5 and a lot less time and everything. And English is the only subject where we really have discussions anymore. Every other subject is you're really teaching towards the test because you need the marks to get into the next grade. And so it's like, okay, these are your 10 homework sums, do them. These are this is the thing we're going to cover this week. Read up on that and come. And classes this discussion has really just completely gone out of most classes. And even in English, it's again complete the syllabus. And so we're kind of rushing through everything instead of like really spending time on different things.
Hmm.
Hmm. Anybody else? Yeah. Adda. And then Sophia.
Well, I guess that in specifically in these, I mean, like, I guess they are more theoretically oriented subjects where you're gonna think and then write mostly. I guess, especially in this history, English, sciences, we have sort of, so what we have in our school specifically is that we have something we call hyperdocs, where we actually have slide by slide what's going to be lesson one, what's going to be lesson two, what's going to be lesson three. And in these, digital resources have been used far more than we usually do. And what they do with these digital resources, they ask us watch this YouTube video, read this reading, and then go back home
Huh.
for the rest half of the day that you're free, and then go and take notes on it, explore it by yourself. I do annotations, paraphrase it, and then come back to class, and then we're going to discuss on it.
Wow.
And then we're going to move forward to the next topic. So
Okay.
that has been so this online resources and you doing your own note taking, something far more stressed than before. And that's one of the major changes. Also, the fact that all of our projects are digital. Usually, and like sometimes the teachers are stressing us, write down your essays. But then we have this problem, we have to scan it, upload it, make it a PDF, what's the format. So all of those things. So majority of it digitally, you have to type it and write it. And I believe there are a few studies saying that writing is far better than typing, but now it's like we have to do it online. It's more stressed that way. So this kind of physically writing and actually doing all of those things has been a little different. And I mean, like sports is on the other hand just struggling. But other than that, most other subjects are not that impacted. Other than sciences, where we can't do lab experiments anymore.
Lab. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
these simulations are used where or we have to like do simple experiments. Like in physics, we have to just use our own beakers, honey, water, syrup. You know that experiment where the
Ah,
oil comes up,
all comes
the
up.
honey's at the bottom, the water's in the
Right.
middle.
Right.
Those kind of simple ones are the only ones we can do. The
Okay.
facilities that the school has, we don't have, and I guess that's something we're missing out on a lot.
Hmm.
Facilities bit all.
Yeah. Science. Right. Yeah. Wow. Hmm.
Yeah, Sifar, go.
Yeah. So in for like maths and science, we actually have a subject called tinkering lab in our school, in which what we are covering in science and maths and theory, we actually do it in practicals.
Hmm.
So about angles, and so in maths we are doing some folds in which we can learn about angles, and for science there's a whole variety of experiments we can do. At this time, I think it's gotten a bit like worse, because they actually now send us a video and we have to run around for the materials, while in school they just gave us the materials.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the practical aspect has gotten a bit worse. And yeah, the other languages. So in Hindi, I really like my Hindi teacher, because before online, she used to teach us all through stories, and teach us vocabulary words through stories, teach us muhavre, which we idioms through stories. So yeah, and now that she's just doing that, so that hasn't got changed much. And as Adhavan said, we're getting more accustomed to digital tools, which I think is the future. Writing, yeah, writing does allow you to remember it better than typing. But now, like we don't really have a choice. Now for projects, we can't really make something and then show. We have to make a PPT, or we have to make a basic video or an animation or something like that. So yeah, and which I think will be really useful later on in the future, because for example, making videos, you could go on YouTube and yeah, post those videos if you want, and you can also make others learn with you. So I think it's a really good positive about that.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I think Anjali had something to say.
Um, my school, like, it's very different from what Adhavan school is doing. They're just trying to like do what we usually do in school, but online. So we still have to do notes, like write them, and we have to write them, scan it as a PDF, and then upload it.
Okay.
So, and right now we have exams going on. So then we keep our cameras on. They send us the paper exactly at like 9:30,
Okay.
and then we write it, then scan it and upload it, and they have to check that.
Wow.
So we haven't really progressed as like digital.
Radha, I have one question. If
Yeah, and then we'll wrap up after that.
Yeah, we'll wrap up. I think we're just crossed time.
Yeah.
So it was quite interesting to see that some students are talking about the practices of their school, and it seems quite different from the practices of some other school. So my question to all the students is, within your own school, and I'm supposing you haven't switched schools during the pandemic, have you seen your schools do things differently because of the pandemic? Right? So, for example, other one, was this pretty much the same before the pandemic, and did they change?
No.
So just trying to understand that.
Yeah,
Have your schools changed their teaching or learning practice during this time? Yeah.
definitely. Actually, we never had any plan like a hyperdoc. We didn't know what was happening the next class.
Correct.
Like now we can see what's gonna happen on day 32.
Right.
What resource we have to use, we can see now. But actually, the starting that was so like amazing, and also at the same time weird, because some people would come prepared for the class and be like, "We already read it." So it was like this whole structured, it's not structured exactly, but the whole plan was never given to us. The teachers knew, and we would come to class thinking we were going to learn something new, and not knowing what we're going to learn new the next day, unless the teacher gives us like, we're going to do this tomorrow. But now we have like this whole plan set in front of us, and I guess that's where the self driven learning comes from, because now they have to give that plan so that we can actually move on to our own learning. The school actually started shifting more towards that, because in school you can't do that. You can't be in the middle of class and be like, okay, what happened in 1980 more, I want to know. You can't do that. You have to follow the teacher. But now you can actually go in those middle breaks that we have between classes, which we have, and then be like, okay, what was this, let me note it down, let me do some note down, I have to do more research later on, like that. So because you know that you're gonna do this next class. So I guess that's something that changed a lot in my school.
Hmm.
And
It, others?
Yeah, Charu, go ahead.
Yeah, so my school is a pretty old CBSE school, so they do have the practice of just using the same worksheets over and over and over and over again. I have a cousin who's like 7 years older than me, and she's had the same worksheets that I've had. So with little tweaks, the syllabus is like a little changed. And so this year, what happened is all the teachers sat down, and for their respective subjects, they created these modules for the subjects and sent it over. And those are actually such good resources because it has all the details you need, not just from a testing perspective, but also from an understanding the subject perspective. And that was not there last year. And that it's such a useful resource that's only been created because of the pandemic and because of online learning. So that's
I'd say for us, almost nothing has changed. Even our PT classes are the same. Like our teacher turns his camera on and he starts doing jumping jacks, and we're expected to follow. So, yeah, but then like our school is probably not doing so well because we haven't adapted to the whole digital thing, and they're just giving us more and more assignments where we have to keep writing. So it's not going that well.
Sifar, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, that we are now seeing a lot of videos and external sources as well, which is making it more interesting. And that's, I think, yeah. And like like Anjali said, that our P lessons also haven't changed at all, except for yeah, like the teacher just turns the video on and we just have to follow them. And some people, like they just pretend they're doing it when they don't really do it, which is very which is wrong, I think. Um, yeah, and one excluding all of this, one thing that I did not like that at this time our English and math teachers have changed. Like the old teachers are left, and now we have different teachers. And having never met them before, we are all the students are lesser comfortable with them. So yeah, that's what has changed.
Great. I have one last question before we wind up, and it just came to me as you guys were talking. So it's wonderful actually that you have shared your observations, your experiences, and your wishes also for this learning space in the future. I mean, if you can spend just one last minute each on how do you think it has been for the teachers who are teaching you in these online classes? What would your quick thoughts be on that? How do you think they what do you think they are going through, and how are they responding? Yes, Sifar, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so many of the teachers are not from a tech background, so they are having troubles with this. And also online lessons, even if it's more interactive, it's not really, you can't really see the students. And some people they turn their video off, and they might have an internet issue or sometimes just excuses. So ma'am doesn't really know if you're understanding, the teachers don't really know if you're understanding or not. So the feedback cycle sort of has broken down, I think. And also during online now they've become so dependent upon like these resources that even a small gap, so Google was actually having a failure for 1 hour and children couldn't submit their papers and teachers couldn't correct. So because we are so dependent upon these digital tools now, that a small, like a small change can cause a big catastrophe. So yeah.
Yeah, other one you had, I think, your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say, so I was also telling that for the online experience, it's like a good and a bad bit in the preparatory discussion. I think it's similar for teachers because, like Sifar said, there are these people who just switch off the video and be like, my internet is bad. Or they'll just be like, when they have to submit a work, they'll just be like, it suddenly got deleted. I don't know what happened. So that kind of thing happens, and you can't just not acknowledge it because that actually sometimes happens to people. But sometimes people just use it as excuses. But I think also the teachers also sort of like it because you can just mute everybody in Zoom and be like, this is what a class is supposed to be like.
It's a good
Like all the teachers at the start were like, that's amazing. I love it. But the teachers are also definitely struggling, especially whether it be in terms of getting the students to come to the class itself, because it's online. Some students just can't forget. Like you're not physically going to the class. You can't physically forget in class in school that you have to go to a class, but online you can, and that becomes a huge problem, I guess. And so it's sort of like a balance of like there's good aspects to it, and there is also the a bad aspect, whether it be on the student side, also the fact that the teacher struggles to make an online syllabus itself for the students. I guess both are them.
Charu, you had something? We
I said, the modules had been just created this year, and that was obviously a huge time investment for the teachers, because that it hadn't existed before. They had to create everything from scratch. And we have regular exams, and so the way we do it is we write down our answers, we scan it as a PDF and upload it, and teachers have to download those documents and correct it online, which in itself is kind of a very odd way of correcting things. And then they have to upload the marks again, and then there's a checking process to make sure the papers have been corrected properly. And I remember teachers telling us, like, it takes so much time. It takes us a whole day to download everyone's question answer papers, because there are like 90 kids in my math class, 60 kids in my physics class, and everyone's papers have to get downloaded. And then some kids' papers don't come through the normal portal, so you have to email that instead. And so the organization aspect of it takes a lot of energy and time. And also, I remember teachers in the beginning, when we first started online classes, saying that they had training sessions on how to use Zoom and everything, because they really had trouble with that. And my classes have had intruders come in with weird names and play music and do stuff. And I remember teachers getting like really hurt and angry because of that, because you had someone coming in and disrupting an already limited amount of time, where like every minute had almost been planned, and you had already put in so much effort, and here was something you couldn't do anything about. So, yeah.
Great. Anjali, do you have anything to share? I don't.
Not exactly.
Fine,
like
not an issue.
in the beginning, we also faced the intruders problem. Like a lot of kids don't respect the teachers.
Right.
So when a teacher calls their name, they're just like mute. You don't reply, and the teacher doesn't know if you've understood or not. And if a student hasn't understood, it's immediately the teacher's fault again. So I think that way they struggle. Yeah.
Okay. I think with that we come to the closing moments. So thank you very much,
Thanks,
students, for
everyone.
sharing your thoughts, and thank you people for participating and sharing questions. Just one heads up here. Next month, our Adda is also a bit related to, for example, what Charu had mentioned at one point. On 9th January, Saturday, the Adda is on high school internships in science. What they're about, and whether how they can help a student, and what they mean and what they don't mean, and what are the other ways for a student in science to get that kind of experience. So we'll send you a WhatsApp message and note about that. But 9th January is our next Adda on a related topic. So see you there.
Thanks
Very much, people.
Thanks you all.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, students.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It was a great experience. Bye.
Thank you, Anjali.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you, kids. Thank you very much.